for Feng when she came and was a presenter at one of our conferences a couple of years ago. And she is a guru in all things social media and just absolutely wonderful. So I'm going to turn this over to her,
okay.
And I think we can get started pretty soon.
Okay, thank you very much, Linda. So, good afternoon, everybody. Again, I'm Heather Turner, the nameless voice on the other end of the phone, or the faceless voice, rather. I am going to mute everybody in a moment. There is a chat bar on the right-hand side of your screen. GoToMeeting recently revamped how the screen to the right looks. So if you don't see a box, you might see something that says chat. And if you click down on that, you can actually ask a question. If you have a question during something that I'm talking about, do me a favor and don't wait to ask it. Type it in. What I found is if we wait till the end, people actually forget about their questions and then we don't get to anything. If I have not answered a question, I'll try to answer them as you ask them. If I have not answered it at the end, we will try to circle back and go over everything at the end. So I'm going to mute everybody now, folks, okay? Hold on just a second. So most of you are probably on Facebook, and most of you probably have Facebook business pages. Facebook, for those of you that are on actively all the time, might have noticed in the past year a significant drop in the amount of engagement that you're getting. Unfortunately, this is something that we have to deal with as Facebook gets more and more into the realm of doing what they want you to do is pay to play. Now, Facebook, and there's some ways, we'll go over these at the end, that you can actually kind of game their algorithms to have your page get more likes and get more engagement. But in the interim, we're going to go over some of the other things that you can do with Facebook and some of the bells and whistles that some people might be aware of, some people may not be aware of. But if you've taken advantage of them before, that's great. And if you haven't, I hope you learned something new now. Facebook recently rolled something out called a call to action button, and this is right here. It says book now, but on your page, and it should have been rolled out to everybody as of about 3 weeks ago, you can do different things with it. Just click on it and you can customize and edit it so people can contact you, they can sign up for a mailing list, but most lodging facilities will want to take advantage of the book now option. And what this will let you do is it will let you put in a direct link to your reservation systems, so someone could theoretically book directly from your Facebook page. What I would recommend is if you're not using the Book Now feature, but you're using something else like Contact Us or some of the other options that are in there, make sure that it's going directly to the page that you're referring to on your website. If you're saying contact us or check out our specials, for example, make sure it goes directly to that page, as honestly people are a little bit lazy and they hate to search. So if it leads directly to your home page, the odds that people are going to click to try to find something are actually very slim. Now, this is what Facebook business pages used to look like, and because they've revamped those, many people actually haven't returned to their Facebook business pages and looked at what their page looks like with everything that's now above where it used to be before. As you can see, the like and the following and messaging and your photos have actually moved up, including the business name. So if you had customized a Facebook banner photo before, it might be overlaid if you have text on it by some of these buttons. So go back into your business page you haven't really looked at it recently and sort of eyeball where everything is and what everything looks like. A lot of people have done these beautiful customized Facebook business banners, and they actually really haven't thought about what the outside world is seeing when they go to the business page for the first time. Now, this is something that rolled out about 8 months ago. It actually rolled out sporadically before that. You might notice it if you go to other people's business pages and you like them for the first time. This is called Facebook Local, Facebook Nearby. And when someone likes your page for the first time, other associated pages will show up underneath it. What shows up underneath it is realistically, what you put in, if you put in hotel, for example, and then you put in bed and breakfast as your categories, it will show up associated ones. So people might actually see your competitors showing up as suggested. If you have it put in as local business, for example, instead of bed and breakfast or hotel, what will happen is local businesses that are not necessarily competition will show up. The best way to see which suggested pages are showing up is actually to unlike your page and also to look at it from the perspective of someone else that's perhaps not yet liked your page or liked and can unlike, to see what other businesses are showing up there. Because the one thing you really don't want to do is have the local motel show up as an option, because the odds are people aren't necessarily going to click away, but you're also advertising the competition at that point. Now this is very, very new. Thankfully Facebook hasn't done much with it yet. This is called Facebook Places, and it's facebook.com/places. The thing is, this is something that Facebook's been experimenting with. I don't know whether they're going to go any further with it, but people should be aware of it. So if you can, when you get a chance after this, and if you go back to the recording, you can also look at the URL at the top. Go check and see if your in is listed on this and see what it looks like. Your reviews will show up here, and if you have hotel in your category show up, you will show up in facebook.com/places. If you do not have hotel selected, it will not show up at all in there. So that's just something to be aware of if and when Facebook decides to promote this option more. Now, as you can see, there's subcategories in here, and this is where you would see category and then subcategory. To show up on the Places page, you actually need to have hotel both in your category and in your subcategory. Now, Facebook recently redid where to find some of these things. It used to be in your Settings tab was your overview and your page info. Now you actually have to click on your About tab to get to that. You do have, when you click on your address, you have a Bing Maps listing. Facebook is tied into Bing Maps and not Google Maps. If you have a map listing that's in the incorrect place, you can fix it. It's a very tedious process. Facebook will actually let you drag the little pin mark slowly to where the proper area is, but it will only let you drag it in several mile increments. So if you're miles and miles away from where your map listing is actually going, it's going to take you honestly a couple of hours to get that map pin to the correct place. Now, underneath the maps listing, there's a little checkbox that says Show Map, Check-ins, and Star Ratings on this page. Now, that's important because if you have reviews that show up on your business page, for example, that maybe you were in the news negatively, you had some trolls that were posting things on your page, on your reviews section that were not correct, and they were making your business look bad, you actually have the ability to hide all those reviews. I'll go back to that for a second, by unchecking that box. It does not delete the reviews, it just hides them. What I would recommend, instead of actually hiding that box, is go out and encourage some guests and some friends to leave positive reviews on your Facebook business page, because that pushes those reviews. Hopefully there's none of them, but if there is one, for example, it will help push that review down further and further. And most people that actually check on Facebook reviews don't actually scroll past the top few of them. Now, Facebook is changing some of its settings. In the past couple of weeks, they have moved some things around. What I would recommend is, if you're active on Facebook, or even if you're not active on Facebook, go into your Settings tab and go make sure everything hasn't moved. I would recommend doing this for the next couple of months, at least on a weekly basis. Facebook is famous for giving and then taking away, or just giving and not telling us what's going on. It's one of the very few social media platforms out there that when they make a change, especially a major change, they generally don't announce it to the public. They just kind of roll it out to people. And then they run into finding it one day when they go onto their business page and say, hey, that looks different. Now, the other thing that you can do is you have the ability to have people message your page directly. And in here, on your Settings tab and then General, down in the middle, there's Messages. You can actually get rid of your message box completely if you want, and only enable and disable it at will. If you're not going to be on your Facebook business page frequently, I would recommend actually disabling that messaging option. What they've actually found, and they've done studies on, is Facebook people that actually direct message you, they want instantaneous gratification. So if someone has a question or a complaint, for example, and then they direct message you, if you're not able to respond quite quickly to that, then they will take it to the public side. The other thing is if you have somebody talking to you on a page, for example, they leave a comment that you want to respond to or respond to privately, you do have the ability to message them. But what Facebook doesn't tell people is not most, but all people in Facebook actually have two message boxes. They have the main message box, it's that little square at the top right, and then they have a box called Other. Most people don't know about the Other box, and you may have messages in there yourself that people have messaged you that have no idea about. Unless you're directly connected to a person, any message sent to that person will end up in their Other box, and they may never see it and may never check it. So if you're trying to message someone and they don't respond, there's probably 100% chance that they've never seen that. Now, one of the things about Facebook that's very, very important that a lot of people don't take advantage of is looking at their insights. And their insights give you a huge amount of information about your posts, when you're getting the most likes, when you're getting the most engagement, and what types of posts are giving you the most feedback. It's important to start looking at this and to benchmarking it, because from this you can start to tell when the best time of day to post, what the best time of the week to post is. There is no magic number, unfortunately, that I can tell people to say, you need to post on Tuesdays at 8 o'clock in the morning and at Wednesdays at 12:45, because for every type of business and every separate business in the world, it's all completely different. I know the inns whose optimum posting time is first thing Saturday morning is when they get the most engagement, and there's another inn 2 towns away that best post is in the middle of the week, for example. So it's uniquely tied to your business and your type of business, and the only way that you're going to be able to track when and how and where is to start paying attention to your insights. So how many of you, if you could just type in on the right, how many of you have actually checked out your insights? Doing it right now. I like that response. Okay, good. Good, good. Now, you can also see the time periods. This goes for a week. I would recommend going through and looking at your insights for different time periods, because you're going to see different spike times, especially when there's holidays. When you have particular holidays, whether it's Valentine's Day, for example, or Easter, your peak posting times for those holiday time periods, for some reason, I'm not personally quite sure why, are completely different from non-holiday week periods. Ones that have holidays midweek don't seem to affect your likes and engagement as much as holidays on the weekends. That's just something to be aware of and to benchmark that, because you may find, for example, Easter weekend, for example, you're going to get a lot more activity. If you start tracking that over a period of time, you'll start to know and make yourself a note, okay, you know what, next Easter we had particularly high engagement, which isn't normal on a Sunday, but on Easter weekend, for example, it probably is. And you can also see page likes. Facebook recently actually dinged pages because they took off any likes of inactive or people that had passed away. So if you had people that had liked your page, for example, and then 10 of them had passed away, if you had 600 likes, for example, Facebook has taken away likes. I've seen on pages anywhere from a drop of 20 likes, depending on how many likes have liked the page, up to, I think it was several thousand on one page that I'm the admin of. It's hard to tell when they say taking away inactive accounts, whether those are accounts that have not actually posted anything for a specific period of time or not. Facebook implies that, but they have not confirmed that. Now, pre-scheduling posts is something that's very, very useful on Facebook. I don't know how many of you have taken advantage of it. If you have not taken advantage of this, I would recommend trying it out. It's extremely useful for several reasons. One, because innkeepers have a limited amount of time. You can pre-schedule posts for a whole week, for example, in advance, or in some cases I know innkeepers that have scheduled posts for a whole month in advance, and then they can just forget about it. Now, the other thing is if you're analyzing your insights and you're finding that, from 1 o'clock in the afternoon to 3:30 and, 5:30 at night till 9 o'clock at night, you're getting the most engagement. You're busy right at those time periods, and you're not going to want to post then. So look at your insights and start keeping track of when your best posting times are, and then start pre-scheduling some posts in. Because then you can just, set them up and then forget about it. If any of you guys are on Twitter, you can also auto-feed your Facebook posts into your Twitter account. It's extremely easy to set up. It's facebook.com and then /Twitter. It will ask you to connect your Twitter account. If you have not done this before, I recommend before hitting the big red button that says connect, actually look at the page. They've changed the color of this button a little bit. First it was blue and then it was red, and I think it's yellow last time I looked. Is that big red button connects your personal account to your Twitter feed, and underneath that in text is connect a business page, and that's the one you want to connect. So anything that after that you post into Facebook, including your pre-scheduled posts, will automatically feed into your Twitter account. Now, the nice thing about pre-scheduling posts is once you've added things, you can go back in and reschedule them. You can edit it. You can delete it. You can change the time in the day. And if you make a mistake in it for the time periods changed, for example, or you made a typo, you can go back in and fix it. Now, Facebook has a lot of advantages because you can actually write a novel in here, but you don't want to do that. But you should take advantage of putting links in. So if you're uploading your room photos, for example, or you're uploading something to do in the area into an album, make sure you have text in here and also put in a link to whatever is relevant. So in here, for example, they have availability online. So someone can click on the photo and then click on the link and directly make a reservation for this particular room. Make it easy for people to find things. I know that this particular image has gotten at least 15 reservations directly from that page just in the last year, and that's just since January 1st. So having that easy to book option for people when visiting your page and promoting your inn makes it a lot easier for guests to be able to find what they're looking for and say, hey, Mabel, let's get away for a romantic getaway in a couple of weeks. And it's already there. They don't have to go looking for it. Now, the other thing that's important to do is actually tagging your bed and breakfast. You might be familiar with tagging people, but you should also be tagging all your photos with your business name. And what you can do is click on anywhere in the photo itself and then type in your name. Your business name will actually come up in a hyperlink. So what will happen is if this photo gets shared, that direct hyperlink will be active because it's tagged to the photo, even though it may not directly track back to your bed and breakfast. Now, some of this is kind of, it should be intuitive and it's not, but beautiful things catch attention. And think about the fact that, you guys are in Michigan, which is absolutely beautiful out there, and I've seen some people posting things in Michigan that are just amazing. If you have local photographers, for example, that are taking imagery of the area, take advantage and share some of those photos. That's what attracts attention. Granted, it's not necessarily about your inn per se, But one of the fallacies of social media is it's all about you. And it really shouldn't be. 10% of what you're posting should be about yourself and your business. 90% is reconstituted and reshared information. You're not necessarily taking other people's information and taking their posts, but you're taking advantage of the fact that they've done all the work for you. So if you have beautiful imagery that people are posting, you can also use that to promote the state itself. You know, come to Michigan and kayak on the lake. You know, so you're giving people the illusion, but not the illusion, because this is a real thing going on, that this is what it looks like where we are and where our inn is. And cute catches attention. Now, why would someone post cute things to bed and breakfast pages? Number one, it's engagement. Number two, cute gets shared. And it also tracks back and brands your B&B. So if you shared something like this, and then it got shared 100 times, that all tracks back to your business page. So you may not necessarily get a direct reservation from it, but also people are pointing out something that you're branding the business, and it tracks back to, well, people might not want to make a reservation now at a B&B, but if they start to follow your page because you're posting interesting, cute, informational, beautiful pictures, they like your page and they follow it, the odds that when they're looking for a bed and breakfast, they're more likely to have you top of mind because they've then branded your business with that. And helpful catches attention. And again, it doesn't necessarily have to be directly from your inn. It doesn't have to be directly knowledgeable. But if you have something that's helpful and do it yourself, and especially inexpensive, that can help others, that brands your business, it gets shared, and it is helpful. People appreciate social media helpfulness online. And funny catches attention. Both of these are posted by B&Bs, and everybody gets a chuckle out of it. And people, again, do share that content. So you are branding it, and you're showing people that you are a person, you're not just a business, and that you have a sense of humor. Now, there's something out there called Easter egging. This is very, very handy to do in terms of promoting not just your Facebook page, but your website, your other accounts, if you have a blog, for example. Easter egging is something that can be used across all social media accounts to draw attention, and it can also be used for contests. And a way to Easter egg is to post something on your Facebook page, for example, that says to your fans, go back to 2013, find the album that has the blue flowers in it, and tell us what colored dress the woman in the picture is wearing. And you don't necessarily have to, give something away for this person to go and find that information, other than a shout out online. Congratulations to Marcia. She found it. She was the first to find it. We hope when she comes and stays at the inn, she'll come say hi. And you can use that to draw attention to other things as well. So if you had something on your business page, for example, your website, that wasn't getting a lot of traction and a lot of attention, you could post a post on Facebook and use it to draw attention to your website. And you can use it for giveaways, of course, as well, but also to use it just for recognition. This is a great way to draw attention back and forth. Now, one of the things that a lot of people don't think about is actually when they post pictures, because pictures are what sell on all social media, and they do help on Facebook, is putting some extra content and putting some extra words on the pictures themselves. Because sometimes pictures shared on Facebook end up on other mediums. People save them to their desktop, for example. They might save them to their desktop and then pin them to Pinterest, and there's no track back to the business at that point. If you have a photo editor, and I can actually send a list of free photo editors to Linda afterwards, of free ones that are online. You don't have to download. You can just upload a picture, edit the size, put text on it, crop it, do whatever you like. But putting text on a photo helps track back to your particular business, for example. And anything that's can be used as an ad anywhere, whether it's print or any other medium, can be used as a post on social media. So if you took an ad out, for example, in a magazine, or for those people that do put things in newspapers, or a regional tourism-driven paper, for example, that goes around, if you can get it digitally or have a print version of it and scan it in, you can use that as Facebook content and any other content, any of the other social media that you have. And again, here's an example of just some text on a photo that's giving some examples. So if you were to use this on an image, for example, of what's in your backyard if you're in, for example, you could type in, for example, you know, this is where our gazebo is, these are the types of flowers we have in our spring garden. You know, if you had birds, you could put an overlay on the birds of saying, these are some of the birds, you know, these are cardinals and catfinches that you happen to see if you're coming to visit our inn. And it actually gives some additional information to people looking at your page. Now, for those of you that are still trying to get likes, which seems to be an ongoing thing on Facebook, you really should invite anybody that you're connected with online. And you say, well, most of my friends probably are not going to be potential guests at my inn, but their friends might be. So when you encourage your friends to like your page, that actually shows up on their internal feeds, and all of their friends actually see that. So you can tell your friends, hey, could you do me a favor and like my page? And they could go ahead and unlike it again if you'd like, but most people don't, because that will actually help your branding get out there. And then if your friends are sharing photos and sharing posts from your inn onto their own Facebook pages, again, all of their friends are going to see that. So you're additionally branding your business through those connections. Now, there's some bells and whistles that some people don't quite take advantage of. There's an option called Pin to Top. If you haven't used Pin to Top takes a particular post and pins it to the top of your Facebook feed on the business page for a week. After a week, it goes back to the original date that you posted it in. You can also repin it as many times as you want. The downside of repinning a post over and over again is it starts to look dated, because when people come to your business page for the first time, the first thing they're going to see is that old post. So if you have something you want to keep promoting over and over again, I recommend keeping it fresh. Pin it to the top of your page for a week, maybe 2 weeks. After that, drop it down, change it up a little bit, add a different photo to it if you can, and then pin that new post up there. They've actually done some studies about pin posts, and they found that if business pages, no matter if they're Facebook, Google+, and Twitter, who also have the abilities to pin posts to the top for a week, look older than a month old, people are less likely to actually like and engage with the page. So just keep that in mind. Now, one of the other things you can do that not a lot of people take advantage of is emailing or texting to Facebook. This is found in your general settings under mobile. You can also email to this address. So if you're on your email but you're not actually logged into Facebook, for example, you could send a post or you could send a picture to your Facebook page using that particular Facebook address found in that mobile section. If someone else gets a hold of that Facebook address, they can also post to your page. So that's something to be aware of and something that you do not want to share to other people. If that address does, for whatever reason, get compromised, you can actually click on this Learn More, and it will change it for you. Now, how many of you guys have actually heard about interest lists? If you could, I'll type to the right a few of you, that would be great. Okay, Facebook lists and interest lists are not easy to get to or work with on a mobile phone. It's definitely something that is much, much easier to do, maintain, and create on an actual desktop computer. Interest lists are probably one of the most useful things that Facebook has, and hardly anybody knows about them. When you like a page for the first time, after you've liked it, if you go and you hover over this, it will say add to lists. You actually have to be logged in as your personal self, not your business page, in order to create lists. And what the lists do is they aggregate content. So you can have lists of local tourism activities. You could have a list of local restaurants. You could have a list of local theater things that are going on. And the reason this is useful is it's like one-stop shopping. You could go out as your business or as a person on your personal account and like all the different pages that are applicable to things in your area and going on in your area. But because Facebook throttles the amount of information out there, you're only going to see a very, very small percentage of their posts. And putting things on lists aggregates all of their content together. So if you're looking for something to share, for example, on your own business page, you could go over to a bunch of these lists that you've created and then just share the content directly onto your page. So it makes it much, much easier to aggregate content and curate content as well. Now this is something that's constantly happening. Facebook has been throttling posts for more than a year now. As of a few months ago, it was down to less than 3% of the people that have liked your page are actually seeing your posts. Now it's about 1%, which is really, really scary from a business perspective. And again, Facebook wants you to pay to play to promote the posts, which is kind of unfair because they're asking you, or rather, if you have, X number of fans, if you have 500 people that have liked your page, they're asking you to actually pay anywhere between $5, anywhere up to $50 to get people that have already liked the page to even see your post, which seems like it's kind of defeating the purpose, but that's what they want you to do. There are some ways to get around this. Now, when you put things in there and you put posts and photos and text, always make sure that you have text with the photo itself and try to add hashtags to it. Facebook's algorithm is giving more weight to posts that have hashtags in them, and hashtags kind of gravitated from Twitter over into Facebook, into Instagram, into Google+, into blogging, and in terms of searchability, it doesn't really do much for the page other than game Facebook's algorithm. Hashtags originated on Twitter as a way to search things easily, but now on Twitter, for example, you could put gardening as a hashtag, and you could also put the word gardening, and you would still come up with the same search results. Hashtags people do search by, so someone could go into Facebook and search hashtag gardening, and they would come up with your business post, but most people don't. This is more about affecting Facebook's algorithm. If you go into Google and you actually Google hashtag directories, there's 3 very, very good ones. They're free that will give you a rundown of the most commonly used hashtags. I would recommend don't try to put hashtags in every single post, but do try to sprinkle them into your post because they do game Facebook algorithm a little bit. I recommend, again, if you're going to put hashtags in here, don't do more than 3 at a time. 3 seems to be about the limit to help engagement. If you do more than that, Facebook seems to consider it hashtag abuse. I don't know why, but anything more than that seems to be a little bit over the top with that. Now, there are certain things that are also helping to game Facebook's algorithm. One is the word help. Anything with an exclamation point and a question, especially used in conjunction with each other. For some reason, Facebook looks at that information and says, I'm going to give more weight to this post. I wouldn't recommend abusing this, but kind of put it away on a note and say, let's try this a little bit, especially when you're looking at your insights and anything in particular that you want to draw more attention to, play around with this a little bit and see what happens with it. I know that people have used that for specials, for example, saying, help, we need to get, this room that just got canceled. We need to get it booked this weekend. We really, really appreciate it, exclamation point. Seems to be getting more engagement. Again, I wouldn't abuse it, but I would leverage that a little bit when you have something that's applicable to it. Now here, for example, if you're talking about disasters, Facebook seems to love disasters. When you log into your personal page, you might see trending things on the right-hand side. Facebook looks at things like words like destroyed or damaged, for example, and then donations is also a keyword that it tends to pick up. So, and then thanking people is also something, including the exclamation mark. Facebook's algorithms pick up on those things, and they actually help with engagement as well. Now, cover photos is a great thing to use for content. Facebook weighs changes of cover photos a little bit higher than actually posting a regular photo. So if you start changing your cover photo once a week, for example, you'll frequently find you'll get more engagement on that cover photo than if you had posted the photo directly. I would recommend when you change your cover photos, upload the cover photo and then go back in, click on the photo and add some text into it as well, because that cover photo will actually show up in the business page's post stream. And so you want some content in there. I hope you guys know about the red chair, and I think it's probably made the rounds out there. Now see, if you look at this one, it's an interesting picture, but it's only got some dots in terms of it and nothing, exclamation point, no other text in here. So when you're looking at the post, this had 11 likes and 1 share. Now this is an example of a page that actually has a similar amount of likes and fans on their business page. They post around the similar amount, same amount of content, no more, no less. But if you look at the text in here, they're crediting, and then thanks Randy. So here we have the thanks in here, and again, the exclamation point. 24 likes, 8 comments, and 11 shares. And that's just as an example of, 2 different photos, both that are nice photos. This one's maybe a little bit nicer than the other one, but Facebook used this text in here, the thank you and the exclamation point, to game its algorithm a little bit more. Now here's an example of a little bit going over hashtag abuse. She likes to use hashtags in every single post, and I've actually tracked this particular page. When she uses more than 4 hashtags and she posts around the same amount of time, she actually gets less likes. And this goes back to, if you're hashtagging your posts, try not to overuse more than 4. Now, Facebook also lets you insert its own videos into things. I would recommend, if you're uploading videos into Facebook, also create a YouTube account and have those videos on your YouTube account as well. Facebook basically owns all of the content that you're putting in there. If Facebook ever decides at some point that you really need to pay to play, as in you need to pay to have a Facebook page, all of this content that you've put in there, it's not going to let you download it. So you should make sure that you have a copy of all of this on your own accounts, saved as backups, and also on YouTube, because Facebook, for example, does not help your search engine optimization. So if you're posting things in Facebook, Google may pick up Facebook posts occasionally, but it's not helping your SEO. If you post the same video in YouTube, you may get very limited engagement in it, but it will very much help your search engine optimization. And you can also post that video and embed it in your website, for example, in a blog, and you can also pin YouTube videos and Vimeo videos to Pinterest. internal videos, Facebook loves though. So if you do have a video, expect higher engagement of an individual video posted directly into Facebook versus a YouTube video of the same thing brought in as a separate post. Now, sharing things is one thing that takes a lot of the time commitment off of yourself to try to come up with all of your own content all the time, but it's also important in terms of gaming the algorithm, in terms of if you share a post from a page that has a high number of likes and has a high number of engagement, Facebook will automatically give that particular post more weight. This particular post, for example, was shared onto a page that had 2,009 likes. And just as an example, 55 likes and 1 comment. This particular for example, rarely had that number of likes on their page. Here's another one that, they have 1,023 likes shared from a much, much higher page. The major difference between this one was they don't post as often as the other one. The less often that you post on Facebook, the less value Facebook gives your posts. I know that people have said, oh, you don't want to post too much. But the more you post on Facebook, the more Facebook will love you, and the more odds that people will actually start to see your posts and start to engage with your posts. Now that is difficult because it's hard to come up with original, interesting content all the time. And that's where I go back to put together some Facebook interest lists and start sharing other people's content, because it starts taking off the impetus to try to come up with so much of it yourself. Recipes are a terrific thing to share from any page, and also things, again, that are cute, that are interesting. If you have a pet-friendly for example, if you're sharing things from, pages that have, pet-friendly types of posts, that's going to help engagement on your own end, and that's also going to help promote the fact that you are pet-friendly lodging, and you like people to bring their dogs, for example. Now this is something that actually helps gain your algorithm a little bit. I wouldn't use this one too much. There's do you know and did you know. If you ask a question of your page, make sure you add a photograph to it. Do you know helps engagement. If you post something that says did you know, though, it boosts engagement even more. Now, one of the things that is really seeming to affect Facebook's algorithm right now is dual photos. For a while, early last year, posting individual photos was where worked the best. Then it was posting albums. Now posting 2 photos seems to be the magic number for engagement, for example. So you might start finding, do some experimentation on your pages with this, but start posting 1 photo, start posting albums, and start keeping track of the photos that are posted that are dual ones. I can't guarantee this, but I have found in the 100+ pages or so that I'm the admin of that seem to have significantly helped engagement and helped seeing the posts get out there. And again, here's a combination of a dual photo, and then here's a hashtag in here. And there's a link to something off-site. Facebook is continually changing its algorithms, so these things that may work right now, unfortunately, may not work in a couple of months. The main thing to do is when you start having a post out there that you're finding works really, really well, document it. Because if you don't document it, you may not necessarily remember to try it again. Keep a separate list of things that you found that have worked well, types of posts that you found worked well, types of photos that you found have worked well, and start documenting those. And start bookmarking pages and bookmarking posts of other people and other businesses that you see that are doing a good job. The thing with Facebook and traditionally all social media marketing is this is not new. It's marketing in a different format. So, if you think about originally, there was word of mouth, there was the newspapers, there was radio, there was TV. Social media is just a new medium. And the best way to work it and the best way to see how you're doing and seeing if you're doing it well is stalk other businesses that are doing it well. You don't want to necessarily imitate them, but if you see they're doing particular things, utilize those ideas, put them away in the back of your brain, bookmark them on a Word document somewhere, and think about revisiting them. A lot of the really, really good B&Bs that are posting online and doing a good job, especially on Facebook, are ones that actually have consistency to them. So they've made a list of posts that are doing really, really well and have statistically done really, really well for, the past couple of years. And what they do is every couple of weeks, they go back into that list that they've made and they pull something out that they know works well and they repeat it with doing some variations on it. And once you start doing that, it gives your page some consistency, and it also takes some of the impetus off of getting new and original content on there all the time. And I'm going to go back to Facebook, local Facebook nearby for just a second, and the Facebook Places. When this rolled out back in November, what they were doing was they were bringing in photos from people's business pages that were tagged to the page. So it does not necessarily mean that it was taking photos from what a business provided, but it was taking photos that were actually tagged at the business. I had not yet seen any images that had been pulled from innkeepers that were negative, but there were pictures of restaurants and Facebook Local and Facebook Places, for example, of people taking selfies in the bathroom. So it was pulling images tagged to the business into their, their business publicly page. They might revert to that, and there's odds are that that may happen. Facebook Places is also rolling out something that's going to be integrating in mobile in the next couple of months, where businesses can actually set up something so that if you walked into an area cafe, for example, it would actually auto-suggest on someone's phone other places around that of businesses that people could check out, and it would auto-suggest places that people could like. So if you have a restaurant, for example, nearby, check out their listing, check out your listing online, and make sure that all the information on both of those things are correct, because if and when this rolls out and people do go to a restaurant to stay and they habitually check their phones, your listing might show up in that Places account, and you want to make sure that it's got all the information that's correct in there. And again, this goes back to if you want your business to show up on Places, you need to have hotel in the category and the subcategory. Now, there's a couple of other things. I didn't get a chance to take screenshots of them because I just found them this morning, but I'll mention those. As I mentioned earlier, Facebook seems to be rolling out some major changes. And one of the things that's now appearing on people's business pages is similar to the internal aspect of when you go on your internal feed, you might see friends posts, you might see businesses pages that you've liked, but you'll also have a box that says recommended stories. That's starting to actually show up on business pages content. Right now, the ones that I've taken screenshots that's not a good thing for businesses because it's pulling in all sorts of irrelevant information. There was a Chamber of Commerce that I was on early this morning that actually had been pulling in recommended stories onto the Chamber's business page, and the stories that it was pulling into the page itself were extremely negative. Something about a Chamber of Commerce being racist, and something getting stolen from a chamber office, and that was in the business's news feed. There was also a post from a neighboring Chamber of Commerce. So our concern right now is if this starts to happen, keep aware of it and look at your business page fairly frequently. There may be a way to combat this, but if it's pulling in competitors' information into your page, you want to be able to know about it. What's happened with that is it's been particular kinds of posts that drew that information in. And I don't have enough information now onto what sparks that, but it is something that it looks like Facebook's rolling out, unfortunately to the detriment of businesses. The other thing that's changed recently is Facebook has changed how you edit a saved post, a pre-scheduled post. It used to be once you had pre-scheduled posts, you could click on it and there would be a drop-down that would say edit, redo, reschedule, delete, but now there's no edit button. There's just the main edit button. So people are getting confused about that because they think I can't edit my post anymore. I can only delete it or reschedule it or change it or post it now. But you can actually just click on the big edit button, which should be intuitive and it's not, and then go directly into the post and change it. So I'm going to unmute everybody and let's see if anybody has any questions, okay? So hi everybody, you are all now unmuted.
Heather, this is Kathy Russell, and I just checked my business listing on Facebook Places.
Okay. Yes.
And I see I am listed there, which is good.
Yes.
But how do I go to why are my ratings not showing up? There are other properties that have a listing with a rating, but mine does not. What is missing there?
That's a good question. Can you send me the link and I will follow up and dig into it and then I will send the answer out to everybody afterwards?
Okay. I'll try and go back to where I found it.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? What about boosted posts? Oh, fair Facebook ads. Okay. I have an issue with boosted posts and with Facebook ads. If you had asked me that question a year and a half ago, I would have said Facebook ads are worth looking into. Boosted posts have their place. Now I think both of them from the aspect of a small business, Facebook is just ripping your money off. And the reason being they're not returning relevant information anymore. It used to be if you were advertising weddings, for example, and you went on Facebook and you ran a very, very targeted Facebook ad, you could be very specific in terms of, I want to only reach people in the tri-state area, between the ages of, X and X. I want them college educated. I want them to like Pinterest and dogs. Then the ads would only appear to them. In the last year, Facebook ads are pulling in completely irrelevant information, and they're not also pulling in the returns. It's great for getting likes. The downside of that is about 99% of those likes that you're getting from a Facebook ad are completely irrelevant, and the only thing that it's helping boost is your like count. You will find zero engagement from them. There was a really interesting article that came out about 2 weeks ago that had actually been playing with Facebook ads and Facebook promoted posts. This guy got over 10,000 basically paid likes from ads and posts and zero engagement from any of them, which kind of tells you something specific. We ran a couple of wedding ads on an INS Facebook page a couple of weeks ago, and I can tell for a fact that we got about 250 likes on it for about $99. When we went through and looked at all of those likes, the only thing that any of the likers had in common was the fact that they were all female. But quite frankly, I don't think anybody wants to go to an inn to get married in New Hampshire that lives in Tunisia and doesn't wear shoes, just as an example of that. So, I don't think boosted posts are necessarily something that you should really experiment with unless you want to boost your engagement temporarily count. But again, the engagement that you're getting and the likes you're getting for a boosted post probably are not appearing to your target market, unfortunately. So did that answer your question, Bob?
Yeah. Thanks.
Oh, Heather, what address should I use? Kathleen, I will email you right after this. Okay? Anybody else?
Thank you.
Okay.
Hi, Heather. This is Lisa from the Coastal Cottage.
Yes. Oh, hi.
And our page does not show up on the locals pages, and you said that it needed to be categorized as a hotel in the category and the subcategories.
Yep.
So you're saying to not categorize ourselves as bed and breakfast?
If you want to show up in that local places, it will only show up if you have hotel in those two categories. It won't show up if you have anything else in there.
Okay. So it just needs to be hotels. Okay.
Yep.
I can change that.
And,
All right,
and
thank you.
again, that's optional about whether people even want to be on there or not. You know, what I would recommend, how many of you guys are actually posting daily on Facebook?
Almost daily.
Almost daily,
I think
okay.
so.
Do you have a social media calendar that you use at all?
No,
Okay.
I just do it.
You just do it, okay. That unfortunately can be the most time-consuming of ways to do that. Linda, I'm going to share a couple of social media calendars that I have that I know work. You know, I've used them for many years with businesses, and you guys can adjust the use for whatever's convenient for you. But what I would recommend, and the reason I recommend that specifically with Facebook, is because engagement is continuing to drop on Facebook, it may become at some point completely irrelevant for people to use it. If you decide to stop using Facebook, I don't recommend deleting your account, but I would recommend leaving a last post on there saying, you know, hey guys, we've decided not to use Facebook anymore. We've gravitated over to Google Plus, or we have a blog, and then put that link there so people know where to find you. And you may decide to, you know, revisit Facebook at some point. It really depends on what you're getting out of it, but you also need to evaluate whether you are getting something out of it. And when the social media calendar comes into effect, and you don't necessarily need to use it, but start benchmarking how many times a week am I posting on Facebook, how many likes, how much engagement am I getting, because realistically, if you're not getting value from doing it, then you shouldn't be using it. You know, there is no perfect social media platform out there for businesses to use. It's primarily what people feel comfortable with. What's that? Hello? Does somebody have a question? Hello?
I'm here.
Okay. So did anyone have any more questions? Okay. If anyone has questions that they haven't thought about during this, or they have questions afterwards that may have occurred to them, please feel free to email me. My email address, I believe, is in that mass email that Linda sent out to everybody to sign up for the webinar. But if you can't find that, please ask Linda, and she will definitely pass along any questions that you might have, and I'd be more than happy to help and answer them. Okay?
Great.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you guys. Have a wonderful rest of your week.
Thank you.
Thank you, Heather.
All right. Bye-bye.